Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am going to walk you through your get started plan to get back on that weight loss and fitness bandwagon. So, this is for you if you've tried many things in the past, you've gone on different diets, you tried different workout programs, you might have seen some success in the beginning, but something always happens where you fall off. So, I'm going to give you the most practical, easy to implement strategy so you can get started. So, if you have no idea what to do, you feel so completely lost because you've tried so many different things, you hear so many different things on the internet, and you're just at a loss for where to start, I got you. This is where we're going to start. I'm going to walk you through everything. This is a multi-step program. It's free of charge. I'm doing this because this is what I do. And why should you listen to me? Because I've been coaching for 20 years. I've been a fitness coach for 20 years. I'm a life coach and a meditation teacher. I owned my own gym for 8 years, a 24-hour gym here in Ontario, Canada. And I went to school for this. I studied kinesiology and psychology. So I have dedicated my life for this. Needless to say, this is my passion. I have worked with well over 500 women to date, one on one. I've put in over 18,000 training hours. I've been training since 2005. So I've got a wealth of knowledge, but not only the knowledge, what separates me from other coaches is the experience that I'm able to bring with it. So I'm also in my 40s. I'm also married. I have children. I run a business. I have the same challenges and responsibilities as you do. And so not only do I have the education background, but I also have the life experience to know exactly how you're feeling and what you're going through. And my approach is to really understand and meet you where you are. The issue with a lot of programs is that they expect you to completely change your life overnight. And these programs don't work because it really needs to cater to where you are right now in life. And so if you've got a lot of responsibilities, you've got children, you've got work, you've got family, all the other things that you have going on in your life, it's really hard to just uproot everything and make a change instantly. And so what I try to do is implement based on science, based on research, and based on what works. I try to simplify as much as possible this process. So instead of worrying about macros and calorie counting and weighing food and reps and sets right off the jump, we focus on just implementing very simple, easy to implement strategies so that it can easily slide into your regular routine right now. So if this is you, thank you for agreeing to watch this. Thank you. Get a notepad actually. Make notes. I'm going to give you homework to do. And by the end of this, you're going to have a very, very solid understanding of where your problems lie and what you need to do to fix it. Alrighty, let's dive in. That's 3 minutes of me ranting about myself. Now let's make this about you. So, the Busy Woman's Get Started Plan for Weight Loss After 40. Step one, get clear on your starting point. So before jumping into action, you got to take a moment to assess where you are. So what does that mean? So typically what you want to do is called a lifestyle audit. And that's what I do when I work with my clients. Before we jump into like do this workout and eat like this, you have to assess the problem. You have to see where the damage is happening. Think of it as a wound. If you have a cut on your hand, you're not going to go from bleeding to healed overnight. If it's a big cut, which a lot of us are dealing with big wounds or big gaps in our daily life, you've got to stop the bleeding. So what you want to do now is look at the very, very important aspects of your life that are causing you to be unhealthy or causing you to gain weight. And typically there are three practices or three habits that you really want to hone in on to understand where the areas of improvement lie. And I'll go in order of importance. I'll go in ascending order. We'll go from least important to most important. But as I say least important, it doesn't mean that it's not important. It just means in the hierarchy, this is not the most important thing, while though it's still important. Your activity level. So you want to look at your routine over the course of a week. And over 7 days, you actually want to look at how active am I during these 7 days? Do I do nothing at all? Am I doing something? Am I active 2 or 3 days a week? So if your answer is nothing, So that's one check or just one note you need to make. Because obviously, in order to lose weight, you need to move, right? The reason that you gain weight is because you are taking in more calories than you are burning. So obviously nutrition is one part of it, and you have to find ways to reduce the number of calories you're taking in to stop the weight gain. But exercise is a very simple way to burn off excess calories. And not to mention all the benefits that comes with strengthening your muscles and your joints and your cardiovascular health. But just on a strictly weight loss perspective, just being able to move will allow your body to burn off any excess calories. So if you're not doing that, you want to definitely make some adjustments to your routine. And we're going to get into how you can start with exercise. One of the misconceptions is that we believe that we need to jump in, we need to have the right program before we get started. But here's the thing: a bad start is better than no start. And when it comes to health and fitness, there's no such thing as a bad start. Getting started immediately will bring the benefits into your life. So something as simple as starting off with a simple walk. We will get into that a little bit later. But look at your activity level during the week. The other thing is, what does a typical day of eating look like for you? So you want to look at the three main meals. Some of us eat 2 times a day. Most of us eat 3 times a day. You want to look at those meals. And here's the thing. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Without you having to be a nutritionist, you already have a good idea of what healthy eating versus unhealthy eating looks like. So taking stock, and this is why a lot of us get into trouble. I'll tell you two things in my observation with the thousands of women I've worked with. The women who are heavy don't weigh themselves and don't monitor food. And when you don't monitor your food, we really overestimate how much you remember. But if you were to actually write down every single thing you eat over the course of the week, I guarantee you are going to see a lot of things that shouldn't be on there. You've eaten, and you would have forgotten that you've eaten it. If on Sunday you were to try to track what you ate, and you look back on Monday, you would not generally remember what you ate on Monday. But it's the little snack here, the little drink here, the little coffee here. Not that coffee is bad, but if you're doing it with a lot of cream and sugar, then you're getting into some trouble there. So looking at what your eating looks like, and then the big one is, how is your sleep? How many hours of sleep are you getting, excuse me. So how many hours of sleep are you getting? Do you take a long time to fall asleep? Do you stay asleep? And do you feel rested when you wake up? Those are the things. So a lot of us just look at like, how many hours am I sleeping, or how many hours am I in bed? But it's not that. It is the quality of sleep, and the quality of sleep in terms of like how restorative that sleep is. How good do I feel when I wake up? And how good you feel when you wake up relies on how long it takes you to fall asleep, and if you can stay asleep. So that's what you really want to look at first. So in terms of the habits, how active am I? How am I eating? Like just journaling, just writing down, keeping stock of what you eat over the course of a week. And then how are you sleeping? And when you put those all together, the big thing for a woman over 40, the big thing that you have to pay attention to is your stress. Because stress is a killer. Because stress keeps your body in a fight or flight state. Meaning, because there's so much things you have to look after and so many things coming at you, you're always on guard. And when you're like this, your body's releasing a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is not an evil hormone, but it's what your body releases to basically signal to everything, all the systems in your body to be like, guys, stop what you're doing. We have a threat. And when you do that, cortisol causes all sorts of damage long term. The cortisol is there if you gotta run from a dog, or you have to escape a car about to run you over, and you switch into that fight or flight mode and you run, great. The problem is, over years, most of us have remained in that high stress state. And so we have a hard time shutting off the high stress state. Just to give you a little bit of science behind it, we have two different types of nervous systems in our body that are always going back and forth. The sympathetic nervous system, and that's the fight or flight response. That's every day you're waking up and you're like, oh my God, I'm in a rush. Oh my God, I got to go do this. Oh my God, I have this to do, that to do. That keeps you in a perpetual state of stress, and that's where your body's always in the sympathetic nervous system. But we need to be able to switch over to the parasympathetic nervous system. And in the parasympathetic nervous system, that's where your heart rate decreases, your blood pressure decreases, and your body begins to relax. And the nervous system that has been on high alert this whole time can finally recover. It can relax. And we need to be in a state of relaxation for our body to heal. And without getting into too much detail, because I don't want this to run too long, cortisol has a direct link to weight gain, right? Because it slows down your metabolism and it has different impacts on your body's ability to build muscle and burn fat. So you want to look at the stressors. What would your stressors be? Like I mentioned some as I'm ranting: work, family life, marriage, children, friendships, and here's an interesting point. There's good stress and there's bad stress. And even when there's good stress, like you're on vacation or there's like a wedding coming up and there's a vacation coming up, the physiological response to good stress or bad stress is still the same. So what does that mean? Even if you're partying and have a good time, you always need to allow your body to come down, to rest and recover. And finally, and this is very, very important, high stress is linked to poor sleep. So the higher your stress, the harder it is for you to get to bed on time, fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling rested. So it's very, very, very important for you to manage your stress. You want to look at now, as you get started, as you do this lifestyle audit, what are your stressors? What are the things that are really keeping you up at night and making you feel flustered and overwhelmed during the day? And as we say that, the last point here is, where do you feel the most stuck? Is it with exercise? Is it with the stress? Is it with sleep? Make those notes. Write down exactly where you feel stuck. And this is your starting point. Now, as you make these notes, and as you do this, this is not something that takes 5 minutes. You really want to give yourself time, at least 30 minutes, to sit down and make these notes and really think. You have to give yourself time to reflect on not just this week, not just this month, but your life. This is a big reason why I became a life coach after fitness coaching for so many years, because as I would work with so many women like you, we would get into a lot of deeper conversations, and 99.9% of the time, the weight loss, the motivation, the commitment to this healthy journey has nothing to do with you eating too much or not exercising. There's always deeper issues, right? There's deeper issues about you neglecting what you truly want in life, or you've come to a point in life where you've given to everyone else and you just have a hard time doing for yourself because you're processing that as being selfish, or you feel guilty because you've never really focused on yourself before. So this is very, very deep, important, mindful work. Now, how do you get started? And this is something that you really want to wrap your mind around. Most of us won't even start because we feel like we need the perfect start. Everything needs to be laid out perfectly before we can start. But as I said earlier, a bad start, which there's no such thing, is better than no start. And an average start is better than no start. So what you want to do is pick one area to focus on. So for example, I'm actually not a big nutrition guy, in the sense of I am not naturally geared to like focus on cooking and calories and whatnot. My wife is, and yes, I do teach nutrition and I have a nutrition coaching background. But what I'm saying is, if I had to choose between exercise, sleep, and healthy eating, because I've been a sports guy my entire life, I'll go straight to, like, you know what? Let me just go outside for a walk. Let me just start being active again. If you're not naturally inclined to be active, but you like cooking, or you're interested in recipes, you like the process of preparing food, then that's where you can start. You can just say, all right, what kind of small changes can I make to at least stop the bleeding? All right. So as you make your notes on the food of how you're eating, you'll begin to see, listen, there's a very, very powerful saying. What gets measured gets managed. Let me say that again. What gets measured gets managed. So that means the things that you pay attention to are the things that you're going to take action on. Like your bank account. A lot of us who are bad with money, we don't like to check our bank account. The people who are good with money will check our bank account all the time to make sure we know what's coming in, what's going out. And we don't check it because we don't like what we'll see. We're worried about what we'll see. So on the food part, when you track your food, you are going to be able to see immediately areas for improvement. So if you're more inclined to eat, if you're more inclined to experiment with recipes, then don't worry about the exercise part yet. Start with the diet. And if you like sleep, if you've always wanted to get better sleep, but for some reason you're not, and you feel like, you know what? If I can just start getting to bed a little bit earlier and getting better sleep, and that's something that's easy for me to do, then do that. Here's the beautiful part about this. When you start eating better, you will naturally be more inclined and motivated to want to be active and to want to sleep better. If you start with exercise first, you say, I'm just going to go for a bike ride or go for a walk. You're going to go for a walk, and when you come back home, because you're already in a health state of mind, you're going to be more inclined to want to choose healthier foods. You're going to be more inclined to want to get better rest, because when you get better rest, you're going to have more energy the next day to go for your walk. So we all know that all of these things are very, very closely interconnected. So the good news for you is you don't have to start with all three. You're welcome to, but if you have a hard time, if you're the type of person that your history shows that you take on too much at once and you can't keep up with it and then you fall off, then do it differently this time and just start with one. Now, the caveat to that is you have to be patient. If you're only starting off with eating and you're going to take your time with the diet and the exercise, then obviously you're not looking at the scale in month 1 and month 2. In fact, I would encourage you not to worry about how much weight you lose in these first few weeks. Because the more important thing is to get into the right habits. As you cultivate the right habits, the weight will naturally come off. But habits are not something that you form overnight, and they don't take weeks, they take months. So your marker of progress in this very first stage is to just build habits that you can stick with. And as you stick with it, you will become more intrinsically motivated to do the other things. So just to summarize, 1, do an audit of your life. Look at how you're sleeping, how you're eating, how often do you move, what your biggest stressors are, and where you feel the most stuck. And then from here, decide what your entry point will be. If you want to start going to the gym, or going for walks, or going to the pool, or just playing a sport if you did before, start there. If you want to start experimenting with healthier recipes for dinner and lunch, start there. If you want to start getting to bed earlier, start there. Pick the lowest effort change, and that will get the ball rolling. Alrighty, this wraps up lecture 1, and I will see you for the second lecture. Thanks for watching.